coming to you from Mpala in Katabi Town Council, Wakiso District. And the information I have today is another bunch of the Afghanistan refugees will be also coming into the country to also join the 51 that came yesterday. But of course, they have not given us time on when and what time, they will be getting into the country, but we'll further continue to seek more information on that. But we know very well that Uganda is a host country, a renowned country for hosting refugees. And the 2,000 Afghanistan refugees will be joining 1.4 million refugees that are living in Uganda. Although the request came upon the US President, Joe Biden, asking Uganda's President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to have these people here for a meantime, as they say, they will be relocated to another place, or the safest one, when the US government, of course, will have chosen. But what does the 2,000 refugees joining another more 1.4 million refugees in Uganda mean to the country? I am joined by Dr. Annie Abaho, who is a peace and security expert, also with international relations, and a lecturer at Nkumba University, to just make us understand what does this mean. And Doctor, welcome with me on NTV.
Thank you, Ivan.
What do you make of the 2,000 refugees that are joining 1.4 million of other refugees in the country?
A series of things. One, that Uganda, which is a signatory to most international documents, conventions, does indeed live by what it has signed. But also in terms of public relations, that gives us a positive image before the international community as a welcoming country. As you already mentioned, Uganda has more than 1 million refugees already, most especially from the neighborhood. But that we can even stretch our hands and receive those that seem to be coming from very far is an indication of a stable, welcoming, hosting country to people who are seeking refuge.
Doctor, I cut you short. Although the request came from the US President at Uganda with their relations they have, but was it a good move for the country to take on these refugees?
Yes and no. Good, because it's reciprocity. Ugandans have sought refuge before. Our leaders themselves have sought refuge before in countries not within the neighborhood, but countries far out of, very far from Africa actually, and they were received and treated well until time came for them to return home. On the other side though, we have already hinted on the number of refugees that we have. 1 million is not a small number, and yet there are indicators we could be receiving more from the neighborhood. So plus these who are coming from far, statistically, the numbers are growing, and the resources available for Ugandans are not, stretching. The resources available for Ugandans are not stretching wider. So in terms of livelihood, in terms of food, in terms of services like education, we begin to compete for these limited resources. But it's a positive.
Doctor, the American government says that by 31st they will have concluded all doing the deployment at Kabul, withdrawing their forces. And as a security expert, do you anticipate calmness in Afghanistan?
One thing that is for sure, when a country has tested violence, it is not simple for that violence to go away completely. In conflict, a country can seem to be recovering from violence, and then it slides back into the same. 3 months for me is very short for one to expect stability in Kabul. 3 months, yes, they could make efforts to restore stability, but I don't see it possible for within 3 months for Kabul to have stabilized. There are very many other factors that might not make this area stable for these people to return back. And in international relations, once people have left a place out of fear, you shouldn't take them back until the factors that made them leave that place have completely been resolved. So I don't see them return in 3 months.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs in Uganda says they know of the 2 Ugandans who are stranded in Afghanistan, and despite the fact that the US is withdrawing its nationals and other allies. What should have the Minister of Foreign Affairs done even if they've only told us that they have 2 Ugandans stranded there.
In international politics, it's about what do you have and what do I take. It's about lobbying. It's about give this, I get you that. So maybe what the Ugandan ministry should have done is lobby far, lobby harder, stick to the issues, because you are rescuing people that are not nationals, and your nationals are stuck. So I think they could have devised other means of getting there. Besides, there are very few. Maybe, but also one other thing is that it is not easy to move. So maybe you might find where these Ugandans are, they could have been challenged by maybe factors
they say
to do
that
with
there are challenges of
movement.
accessing the airport,
Yes.
where they can be evacuated.
Yes. And yes, the ministry may have done all it could, but some factors may be beyond it, for example, in terms of security and in terms of security of the Ugandans as well. But I also think they could lobby more to have our nationals, rescued, just as they are rescuing the other,
Do you
foreigners.
also think that Uganda's acceptance to the U.S. request and its hospitality to the Afghans may have a long-term impact, perhaps, which is negative between Uganda and the Taliban?
Acceptance of these people is two-way. One, for what we see, most targets, Taliban targets and other terror groups targets against the Americans, look for where American establishments are. Maybe embassies, maybe malls, where they suspect there are many foreigners. And so for Uganda to accept these people could have an impact. Maybe Uganda might be seen in the eyes of the Taliban as though they are defending, the American interests and all those. But it could also give us an opportunity to lobby for other things from the American government. Like now they have come, we are in a period of corona. Maybe it could give us a chance to lobby for, let's say, vaccination. They are here, they need to be catered for. They are here, they need to be taken charge for. So maybe in terms of humanitarian assistance as well, could see an increase in that. So I wouldn't want to look at it negatively. Rather, I would want to look at the pros and cons of this acceptance from the other. And if one has to deal with either, maybe the Taliban and the American government, I'd rather deal with the American government than the Taliban.
Well, Doctor, with 1.4 million refugees living in the country that are grappling with some social well-beings, and now we have more other 2,000 joining, what should we learn as a country from this?
One thing to learn is that you cannot guarantee peace forever. The Afghans definitely want peace, just as Ugandans want peace. But today it is the Afghans, tomorrow it's going to be Ugandans. So as much as there have been fears over security, yes, refugees come with all sorts of security concerns. But as Ugandans, we shouldn't forget where we have come from as well, and who has been there for us from within the region and beyond. So I think let's give them the benefit of doubt that they too are seeking refuge, and they are as human as we are. It is legally and morally wrong, morally especially, for you to see your brother, fighting, crying, dying, and you close your doors, because you never know. And legally, like I've mentioned, we are signatories to many international conventions, which we are obliged therefore to, give a sanctuary to people who are in need, and especially vulnerable persons like the refugees that we are talking about.
Well, for time purposes, Doctor, we'll leave it there, but thank you very much for availing time to speak to us.
Thank you,
and
Ivan.
we don't take that for granted.
Thank you as well.
Dr. Annie Abaho is a peace and security expert with international relations, just making sense of what Uganda is like, and as far as how they're hosting the 2,000 refugees. Like I earlier said, I have information that another group will be coming into the country, only that we're not certain about the time. But of course, we'll keep tabs on the story and let our audience know. Now, Morning at 10 TV will leave Katavi Town Council and return to the studio. A very good morning to you and our audience.
And with that, we've come to the end of Morning at NTV. My name is Romeo Busiku.